I just told my wife, like, when we first got together, I was like, there's one thing you need to know about me, and that is I'm going to go and watch movies on opening day by myself, no matter what. And then I need to be able to go out and make movies and invest in my own projects. And like, as long as you like know about that, like how important it is to me, we're going to be okay, you know? And so, yeah. It's funny. I actually like, like early in our relationship, I would like go and watch movies without her and not tell her. I thought she would get like super mad, but she doesn't like sci-fi or horror. And so I would go watch movies, and then she caught me once, and then she caught me because I can't lie. I would just like not tell her just because I didn't want to hurt her feelings. You know? And she caught me, and it was like a big deal. She's like, "You just need to tell me," you know. And so then I went and watched this movie Parasite without her. That was the first one.
Oh my gosh!
And she was like, and the thing is like,
what a great movie!
Oh, that was the best movie of that year for sure.
What a great movie though.
and I went to go watch it, and then like, she was like, "How was the movie?" And I was like, "It's probably one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life." She's like, but like, you wouldn't like it. She's like, "I would have loved it," you know. But it's this whole thing that I need to see. A bunch of filmmakers do this. I know Quentin Tarantino does this, like opening day of people he really respects and wants to, you know, and loves. He watches it by himself. And like for me, some of my friends like, "Dude, why don't you tell me?" You know, I'm like, I don't want to hear. It's like a church sort of experience for me. You know, it's like spiritual. Like I don't want to go in with a polluted sort of like environment. Like I just want to go in by myself, experience it wholeheartedly, my whole mind, and not like I don't even want to hear like anybody's opinion about it, like
or like gasping, like you know, like the reaction to a scene.
Right. I just want to hear the strangers around me and how they react. But like I won't talk to anybody. I probably won't read any reviews before or after. Like I just want to go and like because it takes
immerse yourself in that movie, that film.
Yeah, because it takes like. From the time I find out about it, like let's say like, oh, Denis Villeneuve is making Dune, right? So then it'll be like 2 to 3 to 4 years of like anticipation when that thing's gonna come out. So like it's like so built up by that point that like that moment is so special. Like I cannot miss it. And if I happen to be late and I'm like 2 minutes late into the movie, I'll just walk out and go and see another showing and make sure it's in the largest theater. And it's like I went through some dark times, as you, I think we might have talked about. I went through some dark times. I think in your life, you know, especially in your teens and in your early 20s, like I think it's very normal to go through high highs and low lows when you're young and you're trying to figure out who you are, and then.
Especially if you're low during the low lows, right?
Yeah, like I think like a lot of people, like let's say like the Jimi Hendrixes or like the Kurt Cobains, like young people should know that. I think that you should know that it's totally normal to go through like dark sides of yourself and emotions at those times. And so if you can get out of that, you know what I mean? I know like a lot of people are like, you know, like taking their own lives or substance abuse or emotional, you know, and mental health problems and stuff. And like, I'm not saying that that's normal. I'm just saying like a lot of the human darkness, you know?
Yeah,
escaping this world, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would never do it. I would never ever do it because I'd be like, oh no, the new Spielberg movie comes out in 2 months, or the new Christopher Nolan movie comes out next summer, or like or like
Or
even
Leonardo DiCaprio's
Yeah.
with Matt Damon in a new film.
or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Even like the Michael Bays and all those
Yeah.
guys, like the guys that I like kind of grew up and taught me how to make movies.
Mm-hmm.
Darren Aronofsky, all those guys, like Paul Thomas Anderson, like I'd be like, I would stay alive, and I wouldn't like go through with it because there was no way I was gonna miss that movie. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it's like so important to me, movies. That's why I named my daughter Cinema, right? Because like, it's not just like this thing that I like to do or this thing that I'm obsessed with or I love. I am all those things, but like, if I could do the same thing for other people that it did for me, which was basically keep me alive when nothing else in the world would do that, my family, you know, anything else. If I could do that for other people, then that's it right there. You know what I mean? That's the secret sauce, because it's literally been my first love and the thing that I like gets me up in the morning, that I think about when I go to bed at night, that I dream about, that I daydream about. It's just the thing that I love the most, aside from my family and my, you know.
Do you think that movies help you to keep like healthy, you know, and like sober and even away from getting down dark paths? Because especially if you want to stay alive to see a movie, right?
Yeah.
You want to be healthy enough to be able to go to the theater by yourself and be able to watch it. So would that be a motivation for you as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, here's the thing. So like, I think Timothy Chalamet said this. He said a version of this, but like, it's the truth. Like, living, especially like when you're a child, like everything is so, you live in like a state of hypnosis for a long time. Mm-hmm. It's like from like 1 to 7, you're like in hypnosis. But I think I was in like hypnosis from like 1 to 17. Like I just looked at the world like in a different way.
Yeah.
Everything was so fantastical to me. And then when you're in your adult life can be pretty mundane. You know what I mean? Like everybody just does the same things, right? They just, you know, you travel, which is awesome. Don't get me wrong. You go out. Let's say if you go out to nightclubs, bars, you have dinners. It's
a different adventure.
Yeah. It's just kind of like the same thing. You go to work and then you try to figure out what's cool and, you know, go to concerts and all that. And everybody kind of does the same thing. But as a filmmaker, especially as a filmmaker, I'm sure being an artist is the same thing. But especially as a filmmaker, I'll speak for myself. I live a fantastical life, and a lot of that exists only in my mind. You know what I mean? Like, I dream about projects that I want to make. I develop them in my mind. I put them down on paper, and while I'm currently working on one, I'm prepping the next one. I'm finishing something I previously did. I'm just always like in this cycle of like creating something, always. Like how like a comedian, like Jerry Seinfeld says that like he's always writing jokes. He's always looking at the world thinking, can I make a joke out of that? Can I comment on that in a funny way? And that's how I live my life. I'm always like looking for the next burst of inspiration or where the next idea is going to come from, and then I just get super excited about things, and I fantasize about them, and then I develop them, and then I write them down, and I have like a list of like films that I want to make. Some are developed, some are just the idea and the title, and some I have the structure fully formed, and that all exists in my mind, and that's like the thing that I wake up to in the morning and get super excited about, you know, and it's really just the secret sauce of like that's why movie making is. I mean, I don't wish it upon most people because movie making is very hard. It's like if you want to get an idea out and develop it, or if you want to get if you want to make art, like I would say the most instant gratification ways to do that would be to like paint, write poetry, write a book, do things, or even write music, right? You
Yeah.
can like do that by yourself, all alone, blah blah blah. But like to make a movie, it is
So a lot of different components.
oh man,
Yeah.
you have to
People.
come up with the idea, then you have to flesh it out, develop it, which I like to do like 3 pages. So like, okay, here's the idea, here's a summary of it. Now, first page is first act, second page is second act, third page is third act, and then like beginning, middle, and end, right?
Yeah.
And then you go, okay, now I've got it. Now I have to go out and write it, which could take 6 months to 2 years to 4 years, however long, you know. Sometimes it could take 2 weeks, and then you go, okay, now I got that. Now you go, okay, now I got to get the money, or self-fund it, or find a pack of thieves and hoodlums to go out and filmmaking hoodlums to go out and help me out and make this thing, right? And I got to get them to understand it so that they can believe in it, and then you got to go out and capture it all, right? Actors, cinematographer, everybody, production designer, everybody, and then you got to go out and do it, and then you have to put it all together, color it, music, sound. Then you got to distribute it, and then you got to figure out what the best way to put it out there is, and the secret sauce for me is
And you still got the marketing too.
and then there's that,
Yep.
right? Which is like what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, it would be like Thanksgiving, Christmas, or any random weekend or weekday, and I would think of an idea, but I'd always seem to come up with them on Thanksgiving and Christmas and holidays because I had people to be in it, right? So like I had cast members coming over, so then I'd make it, then I'd shoot it, and by the end of dinner, I would just shoot the edit. It wouldn't be any editing involved. This is back in like the 90s, and then I had I had an audience already, right? They were all there for Christmas, and so, and they all like, some of them are half drunks, right? So then I would show it, and then I would get this reaction, right? And usually it was good, and so like that was it. That's the process that I'm addicted to, like idea, execution, showing it, and if it can give people some sense of like escape from reality for a second or whatever it is, then that's it's just something that I've always done, and it's never been about commerce or anything like that. It's just been about the process. I love the process, and I love to.
Well, you love movies. What up, guys?
Hey.
Welcome back. As you can see, I'm wearing my black shirt, but it's different. I got Dead Season on top over here.
So we're promoting the last film, and we're promoting this.
Yeah, we're promoting the last film. And as you can see in the background, we are promoting Decade of the Dead. And right now, I have one of the co-directors of Decade of the Dead, which is coming out, I guess, next month already, October.
So it premieres at HIF,
Okay.
which is the Hawaii International Film Festival, on October 15th at 9 p.m. Yeah,
Wow. Big moment. So
big.
we have Hawaii director, one of my good friends who's back here in the saddle. Please give a warm welcome to, I'd say, storyteller, actor, producer, director, Mr. Fairai Richmond.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So yeah, I mean, I was actually just watching the last time we did the interview.
Yeah,
You had blonde hair.
I did.
You did blonde
I just got to keep them on their toes. You know what I mean? Next time I'll have a mohawk or.
You ever thought about doing like an afro?
My hair is it goes long and wavy. I just had long hair.
Oh, that's right.
I did this show. I did stunts and a little bit of acting on this show called Chief of War, the Jason Momoa show about the story of Kayana. It's on Apple TV Plus next year. So I had like a long hair and a big beard, and then as the course of the show kept going, I kept changing characters, and so I like. The beard went shorter.
Oh, so that's why you grew it out.
Yeah, and then my hair
okay.
went like then they did like a long mohawk, and then the whole thing, and then yeah.
Interesting.
I whatever, that I would say whatever pays, I'll do it. But that was a dream of mine to be on that show. It's basically like the first time a studio ever gave a project about Hawaii that substantial amount of money to tell our story. And I was like super passionate about being on that with Jason and everybody, and Cliff Curtis and Tamora Morrison, and both my brothers were on it, a bunch of my friends. So it was like this epic tale that I can't wait to see. So yeah.
Well, today we're gonna be talking about another epic.
Why not talk about other projects?
Another epic thing today.
Yeah.
We're gonna be talking about your project.
Yeah, man.
And so tell us how you got involved with Decade of the Dead, because there's a very convoluted way of you being able to get involved with this project.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it as short as possible. So, I knew this man, Brian Spicer, who is a very well-known, longtime veteran film and TV director, and it's interesting because my father actually knew him back in the day when they were making shows, and Brian rose through the ranks of being a PA to directing second unit on A-Team, and then finally directing a lot of television. And then Steven Spielberg saw his work and took him under his wing, and then he just rose through the ranks and directed a lot of big movies and a plethora of television shows. And then he finally ended up on Hawaii Five-0 as the directing producer, and then they took him over to Magnum, and he did that. And so he brought me under his wing. He saw a bunch of my work, and we knew each other, and he allowed me to shadow him on an episode of Magnum. I think it was the finale for season 3 or something like that. And I followed him around for a month and asked him a bunch of questions, and probably annoyed the crap out of him. And and then during the pandemic, I had been making a lot of stuff with all of our free time, and he saw some of that, and then he just asked me one day. He said, "I'm going to buy this company called Sight and Sound, and I'm going to revamp it, and I want it to be more of a not just a rental vendor, but also a production company that we produce original art. I don't like to say content; it sounds art,
Yeah.
And so I'd like you to be a creative director over there, and so that was really cool. And so we started in 2021, and I had been doing a lot of commercials, a lot of stuff for Ho'olanapua, about sex trafficking here in Hawaii, and Hawaii Association of the Blind, and L&O Barbecue, and I wrote a lot of campaigns, and it was just like kind of a dream. I've always loved commercials. Tenkai Pen, yeah, that was another one we helped
Kennedy,
out. Yeah,
and the Electric Pancakes.
Yeah, we did them. Yeah, and I was just creating art, and he gave me that opportunity, and it was really beautiful. And these gentlemen came to Sight and Sound and said, we'd like to rent equipment. And a man named Lauren Simmons, who we call Enzo, was a writer-producer.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and then a director, writer-producer named Adam Dio. And they had made this very low-budget, very successful zombie movie called Dead Season. And it was very successful. I don't know if I can talk about numbers, but it did very well. It was very profitable. And so they had the opportunity to make a sort of sequel of that movie. And so that's how it started out. And so they had asked Brian to rent equipment and stuff. And then Brian is super cool dude. Like, he basically, I think about the reason that we get along really well is, well, number one, just think alike as far as like filmmaking goes, and we have a lot of the same tastes and heroes and stuff. I mean, he was fostered by Steven Spielberg, so I think that's why he's really just about giving back, and less about like money or commerce or anything, And I think at that level, when you become successful, it's about giving back, right? I think that's just the natural way of things if you're like a good person, you know. And so he kind of did what Spielberg did for him for me, and I was always utterly grateful in his debt for that, you know, because all I really needed, you know, he basically said, you know, I think you got a lot of talent, and I want to help you get there faster, you know. And so and so what happened is he told the boys, Enzo and Adam, he said, you know, instead of just renting you equipment, why don't I want to do something. I want to help you guys make this movie, and my company can help you make this movie, and we can make a, you know, I'd like to be involved, you know, and they were like, yeah, man, you know, because they were also fans of his too, you know, like Brian had directed this movie called Power Rangers and a bunch of other the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, the first one, and also he was like he directed this show Briscoe County Jr. and Sequest and all these Spielberg shows, and Adam was like a big fan of that, and so it was just a cool, like kind of like a cool organic melding of minds and personalities, and so they got on board. And then they started to develop it. And this was like kind of happening in the background at Sight and Sound. And I was doing commercials and music videos and stuff. And so I didn't really pay any attention to it. You know, I was like so inundated with my projects that I didn't really think about it or pay it any mind, you know. And then I think this went on for like a couple months. And then a new like COVID variant came out. And Adam, he had a small child at the time, was very small, and he wasn't sure if he wanted to move forward with the process of traveling and doing the whole thing and whatever. And so I believe he like just like dropped out of it, and it kind of like for Brian it was like, you know, the momentum was lowered a little bit, and he was like, no, you know, let's keep making this movie. You know, he's so driven by the art. That's why I really love him. And so he said, you know, I got this guy, and I think he's really talented, and I think he would be a perfect fit for this, and I think he could contribute a lot to this. And and they were open to it. And so he called me over to his desk, and he said, you know, the director had dropped out, and would you like to direct this movie? And I remember exactly what I said to him. I don't know anything about this movie, right? And I'm not even like a huge horror film fan. Like, I love good movies, and I watch a lot of horror, but that's not like my go-to, you know?
Go-to genre, yeah.
And so, but I said, he goes, would you like to direct this zombie movie? And I said verbatim, I said, I would kill that movie. You know what I mean? meaning like I would knock that out of the park, you know?
Yeah.
And he said, okay, put together your reel and write a pitch. And so what I did is I put together my latest work, and then and he said like you have like 2 days or a day, or I can't remember exactly. And so I went home and I sped read the script, and it was really cool. It was like really original. And then but I still needed to like find myself. I needed to find my way into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I can't just, especially when it comes to film movies, you know, I can't just be like a gun for hire. Like I need to like really like find myself into it, mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah,
you know,
you got to connect with it.
Yeah. And so I watched one zombie movie, and that movie was 28 Days Later, which I had seen, but I just needed to
with a different perspective. Right?
Yeah, I just needed to like get into it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and I really respect Danny Boyle, and that movie kind of revamped the zombie genre, and so I watched that, and then I found my way into it, and I watched a bunch of other movies too, but I found out that all these movies, specifically like World War Z, I Am Legend, Train to Busan, 28 Days Later, and a few others, they were less about zombies, and at their core, they were really love stories. So the Train to Busan is about a man's love for his daughter. World War Z is about a man's love for his family. You know, I Am Legend is Will Smith loves his family and then eventually his dog. You know what I mean? And then he finds love for this other thing. Don't spoil it. And so I found my way into it, and I wrote a 7-page pitch. And basically, what I said was, and then I watched their original movie, Dead Season, and my pitch basically was, I'd really like to double down on the heart aspect of it. So we give the audience characters to, not that it was anything that not that the script didn't already have that.
Right.
I just wanted to like
flesh that out even more.
Flesh that out even more, and lift it up even more. And I wanted to double down on. I wanted to make it faster. I come from a second unit background, a stunts and action background. That's my father. I grew up watching him do that, and so that's always been part of my heart. You know, especially like having love for like John Woo movies and kung fu movies and action movies, and like learning from Michael Bay's behind the scenes DVDs. You know, it's just a huge thing for me, and so I wanted to up the action and up the speed and add some speed and some chases and stuff like that. And then as importantly as all those things, I wanted to triple down on the style and make it very stylized, you know, and sexier. And then I explained how I would execute those things by using my resources here, cinematographers, stunt people, and you know, doubling down on like wardrobe and production design, and the look of the movie is like, it's like everything to me. You know what I mean? You hire great actors, and then you can don't have to worry about that part. You know what I mean? And you basically don't have to tell them anything because they just
execute.
Yeah, they just execute, and they're just beautiful. And like I don't even want to mess with that process. Like it's either you get a great actor, like we had my father, Sean Patrick Thomas, Corsica Wilson, Marissa Miller, Jenna Leigh Green. Like we had all these great actors on the project. Shane Johnson, Joe Town, and even the local actors like Rebecca Teresia and Wesley Clay. You know, and just a bunch. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting people, but Dean Geyer. Like all I really ever had to tell those people, or Adam had to tell those people, was like faster, slower. If that was a 5, take it to a 10, right? Because you have to end up in a 10 in the next scene or anything like that, or take it down to a 2 so we can go to a 5 so that we can get to a 10, you know? That's about it, you know? And so I just explained how I would execute all these ideas, you know, using long lenses, moving the camera, you know, densely framed, dense frames, meaning like making everything 3-dimensional and stacked so that it looks super expensive, and just heavy on texture with the costumes, the makeup, wardrobe, and the production design, and really fill the frame, right? This is just like music video commercial tricks that I've learned since I was young, and so that was it. And so they looked at the pitch, and they looked at my reel, and they were in, and they said, "Yeah, let's do it," you know. And I was super excited, and Brian was super excited, and it was just this amazing gift of an experience. And then Brian thought, you know, I think we could actually help this out more financially, and so then he was able to help us out with a friend of his, which I don't know if I should mention his name, but or if he wants me to, but another guy came in as an investor and helped us out, and that helped tremendously, and then Brian helped tremendously, and then through circumstances, the original movie's director and the writer of this movie, Decade of the Dead, he came back on, so we co-directed the movie together, which was actually a really beautiful symbiotic relationship, because I owe him a lot, you know, obviously for bringing the project, him and Enzo bringing the project, but for allowing me to do my thing too, right? To like frame the shots and to focus on the lighting and the look of things, and he was super instrumental in like keeping intact the flow of the story and the all those beats and the mythology and the lore that they created, right? Because this is like, this is their baby.
Yeah.
And so, and even like, it was also just super helpful, right? Because we didn't have the resources all the time to complete our days. So we had to like split up, and he would take on certain scenes. So I would say like, I would give him my notes and my shot list and be like, I'd really like it if we can make sure that we just make sure we get these shots and like it looks somewhat like this, and then the scene ends here, so it transitions into the next scene, and it was just a beautiful relationship. I don't think we ever argued once, and you're gonna have like some disagreements maybe, but like the thing about filmmaking is for everybody, because filmmaking is like once you create it, it's like a moving living machine, organism, you know what I mean? So like actors are going to think one thing, crew members are going to think the other thing, I'm going to think one thing, he's going to think one thing, but it's all because we have a love for this organism, you know what I mean? And it's like a baby, so we want to like nourish it and take care of it, and we all have different ideas of how to do that, and that's the movie is the master, right? So the movie tells you what it wants to be. And so eventually, any sort of disagreement you might have, you're like, well, best idea wins. Like, and it would just be like that. Like, well, yeah, that's the best. Guarantee, let's do that. You know what I mean? Or they'd be like, guarantee, fine, that's a great idea. Let's go. And it's been like that. That's been our relationship throughout, even in the post-production process. Like, it's just been. They just showed me the logo, and I was just like, that's so sick. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just so good, right? It's just like all this energy going in from all these different brains trying to make something great. It just gets better and better and better. And like, I think that's the reason why like a lot of the Joel and Ethan Coen, or the Daniels who did Everything Everywhere All at Once, like two brains is obviously going to be better than one brain. You know what I mean? So it really helped out. And we were off and running with the movie. They came to Hawaii after trying to do it for a long time, and then we were off and running, I think, in like 6 months or less. I'm not really sure exactly. We started in May, pre-production, and we started shooting in July, August, or something like that. And we were like hard production, and it was tough. It was really cool because I was directing this L&L campaign, L&L Barbecue. Shout out to L&L. Very famous Hawaiian barbecue place, restaurant. And so I was doing that like while we were prepping the movie, and then I was like editing and supervising the edit on that while we were prepping. And then like, we brought in all the key department heads, like the costumers. And the thing was too, it was just like, we had gone through everybody. And at the time, we made the movie at like the worst time to make it in Hawaii, because at the time, I believe you had NCIS, Magnum PI, another movie, and I think like a Hallmark movie, all at the same time. Wow. So like Hawaii's crew was pretty like spread thin. Yeah. And I'm super grateful that, we had gone through so many different department heads. We had one guy.
Plus, you had COVID restrictions too.
Oh, and that was just a whole other real hard situation to get through. But I want to touch on that. Like, it's interesting because as a filmmaker, and this is a good advice that I've sort of learned from myself, for myself from observing, and it's good to know. It's like you're going to go through all these problems, and hurdles. And sometimes you're going to fight to try and get the thing that you want the most, right? So, and that's like what Spielberg was going through on Jaws, right? Which is like my favorite movie. And so like the shark wasn't working. So they They couldn't get the shark to work. And so incidentally, they were like, well, screw it. We'll just make this movie without the shark, and and then it'll probably be even scarier because you don't see it, because you just have to use your imagination about what this thing is, right? And we'll just see like docks being moved and different like pontoons or whatever, those buoys moving and stuff. And that's what made Jaws so, one of the reasons why it became so successful was like that Hitchcock sort of like mystery to the whole shark. And so I think in situations where you're making a movie, a lot of times the sandbox that you get to play in becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, and sometimes you keep fighting, and then sometimes you have to take a step back and go, maybe this is the shark in Jaws. Maybe this is what the movie wants to be. Maybe it'll actually make the movie better by these limitations, because with
changing the approach.
Yeah, because you have to become, you have to dig deep and become extra creative and resourceful, right? And that just makes, anything that's easy it's probably not going to be that good. Yeah. But if it's hard as hell, then it's probably going to be great, because there's just so much energy and so much going up against it that you just like, you give it everything you have. I mean, I've given this movie everything I have, right? Like my tank was on E and I just had to keep running on fumes, you know what I mean? As far as like creatively, spiritually, mentally, physically, right? And so, yeah. And so we were off and running, and that was the long-winded answer to your question.
Oh, but that's good. I mean, you guys went through a lot of different things. COVID, tropical storms. You guys were filming at night, and you had just time constraints as well, because you only got to film 16 days total, plus maybe 4 pickup days. But the thing is, you had production cuts. You had a lot of different things that were kind of against you guys. But, with that pressure, you think about it, that pressure really builds character, builds better films, better results.
Yeah.
Especially if you can push through.
Yeah. I mean, there was no 7 takes, per actor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We didn't have that time. Sometimes we didn't have the resources to like get like 4-wheel drive, because the movie's basically all exterior. If it is interior, it's on location inside of a location that's in the jungle, or it's on a boat that's on the water interior, right? And so, and there's no like 2 people talking sort of thing. There might be like a few scenes where there's 2 people talking, but it's also exterior, daytime or nighttime. And it's usually setting you up for something crazy that's about to happen right after that, right? So it was always a lot of moving parts. All the crew. We really owe a lot to our wonderful crew, because a lot of the people that were department heads and just all across the board, even some of our background artists, a lot of them had never done this before.
Wow.
They had their own talents, right? And they were talented in that, but they had never been given the opportunity to do it. But I knew that they had it, and we knew that they had it in them, right? And so, like one of my friends, like Jade Ryosaki and her mom Kim Ryosaki, who are like family to us, and we've known them for a long time. They had never, Kim had done movies, the mom, but Jade had never done costumes on a movie. She'd done some smaller projects and stuff, but like she'd never done it on feature film. It's a beast.
Yeah.
This movie is a beast to do, right? And like there's like over 100 people to costume. It's all dystopian future. Then you have zombies. So then there's all weathering and aging of those clothes, and the
look of the cult.
The look of the cult, the look of the survivors, the villagers. Then you have the look of our heroes, and I can be annoying, and I can be a pain in the ass, because I don't mean to be, but I just, like I was saying, it's like everything to me. Like a lot of times too, even the actors are just like, I'll be like, looking in the background, like making sure that this is good, and they're like trying to get direction from me, and I'm like fussing around like down to the last down to the last second before like the cinematographer, my cinematographer Sean Hyatt, shout out Sean Hyatt, my man, down to the last second. It's like I'll be like stapling vines to the roof or whatever it is, and like putting objects in front of the camera, and they'd be like, okay, we're done, ready to go, and then I just jump back into the monitor and okay, let's go. You know what I mean? It's like, and so for them, I would just be like, I don't know about that. I'm not really sure about that. And they'd be like, you're killing me. You know what I mean? Like we have like 100 more people to do, and I'm like, no, we got to get this right. We got to get this right. And like they would be there on the weekends and figuring stuff out. And the same thing with our production design crew. My good friend Keone, who
friend of the show.
Yep. He was about to kill me, and him and his crew. Clyde, who was props, but he was also everybody did everything on this show. And Casey Phillips and Samson, and Rainier and Kama, like
Samson.
Yeah. All these guys, they were just constantly working, and I would be there with them helping, and I just, I don't know if I'll ever change that. I'm always going to be hands-on in every department, and we had the makeup girls, Soraya and Victoria, and Kelly. Like Kelly is a veteran, but Soraya had never done a movie before. Victoria, but they were like horror film fans, and they lived this life, and so they were just so excited to do it. Yeah. And that's all you need. You know what I mean? The talent and the passion, and then that's just gonna drive you into the experience, and you will excel. You know what I mean? And sometimes all you got to do when people are like having self-doubt, you just got to look them in the eyes and just tell them, you can do this. You know what I mean? And like, then they go, oh, I can do this. You know what I mean? And everybody just killed it, because this movie was made by veterans like Sean Hyatt and Jason Freitas, our gaffer, and all these other veteran actors and everything. And then it was made by newcomers. And our UPM, Connie Flores, and our coordinator Franz, like these guys are all veterans, right? They've done this before many times, but like, and then they had all these young people come in, and young and older, and they just absolutely murdered it. And so this is why it's so important for me, especially, that I'm so grateful to HIF. Shout out to HIF that they accepted us into this festival, because that was always a huge goal of mine, was to, especially for Hawaii, to give this local cast and crew their day in the sunshine, to watch this movie and see their work, and give that gift of their talents to audiences, and let audiences see their work, and it was so huge. And obviously HIF is the biggest festival in Hawaii. It's one of the biggest festivals in the world. So it's like it was just, I almost collapsed when they said that they were going to let us in. I was just, I almost collapsed. And then, and that's why, it was just so important that a movie of this scale and size and love, if that makes sense, was able to premiere in the place that it was made, with love and hard work and blood, sweat, and tears, with all these people, right? And so I'm just swimming in an ocean of gratitude for them, because it's been pretty amazing, right? We've been making this movie for over 2 years. The boys, Enzo and Adam, have been making it for like over a decade, and now we are able to give this little baby, show this little baby to the world, and then when we do it, we sell out like in hours.
Yeah.
And then they added another show gracefully. And then we sold that out within hours.
Right.
And so it's just been this like, sort of like roller coaster effect. And now we're like, doing all this publicity. We're being on this show. We got like Living 808, and we're on Hawaii News Now, and going on to HPR on the radio. And so it's just like this amazing thing that's been happening. And I'm just so grateful. Hopefully we deliver the goods. Hopefully hopefully the movie delivers the goods. But I feel really good about it. I'm super proud of it, you know, and it's especially for how it was made. It's in my opinion, it's kind of a hard movie to hate because it's a good tale. The boys wrote a great story, and everybody put everything they had into it, you know, and it's really tight and lean. It's like 83 minutes, so it's like it's told very quickly, and there hasn't really ever been a movie like this made in Hawaii. Like the boys brought the script and all that, but like and they brought some financing and all that, but a lot of it was created by Hawaiians and Hawaii locals, right? All the key department heads, except for the first AD, were all Hawaii locals or Hawaiians, indigenous Native Hawaiians, right? Like 95% of the cast, aside from like a few of the leads, obviously, were all Hawaii locals or indigenous Native Hawaiians, right? And there's a lot of there's a lot of, and I am involved in a lot of like indigenous Native Hawaiian, you know, shows, and that is a big passion of mine. But also, like, I don't think a lot of these types of movies are made here because I don't think that people realize that they can make them here. And so I'm hoping that this helps to pave the way. Yeah, for like that little boy in Kalihi or that little girl in Waianae that wants to make a movie the size of like a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie is empowered, but they go like, oh wow, you know, this Hawaiian guy, Fairai Richmond, he helped to make that movie at a key position. You know what I mean? And it's possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think in Hawaii we have a lot of that. Obviously, this is a great time for us with Dwayne Johnson and Jason Momoa and Taika Waititi and all that. But as far as like filmmakers here in Hawaii doing this type of thing, I don't know that there are a lot of them. And so I hope that we can inspire and even help those people that want, you know, the next generations or the current generation or the older generation, whoever, anybody that wants to do movies with a little bit more calories on it. And I don't mean that in an insulting way at all. Just like a larger, bigger, fatter sort of production.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's true because like a lot of films like The Wind and the Reckoning, we have even like the Chief of War, you know, a lot of films are being made here in Hawaii and they're outsourcing to people that are local, you know, local.
Right.
And then of course, like you were saying, 95% of your cast and crew, they did Decade of the Dead. And then if you look at what's another one? I'm trying to think of some other ones that are pulling people, they're pulling talent, they're pulling people that probably maybe never even done a project like this, like the scale of like Decade of the Dead.
Right.
And they're pulling them in these bigger productions here. So, you know, I think Hawaii is in a kind of like a renaissance phase with films.
I truly believe that. I mean, and Wind and the Reckoning, great movie. You know, and it is a goal of mine to make to write, direct, and produce some indigenous. I mean, I have a feature that I wrote a treatment for about Hawaiian stories, and that is a passion of mine for sure. But there is also, and there's that indie drama side of me too. But I grew up watching, you know, the Spielberg movies. You know, I grew up watching the Michael Bay movies, and so that is a huge part of who I am. And it's possible to do that here. You know, it's possible to make these large scale movies. I just watched this movie, The Creator, last night, this Gareth Edwards movie, and they made it with a very small crew. And they sort of changed the way you can make a large scale movie. And I think in a lot of ways, that's what we did with Decade of the Dead. You know, this movie has, you know, an opening action sequence that's on the water, that is very difficult to do. Shout out to Victor Lozano and Uncle Brian Keolana for helping us out, and all the captains, and that's very difficult to do. I mean, we got caught in a storm. We got caught in a storm out in the middle of the ocean, and I'm like, the captain is like, we're shooting, and and I'm like, okay, yeah, like, Sean, say the lines, da 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 da, and the wind and the rain is like moving like laterally across, and we've got like, I don't know how many crew members out in the middle of the ocean, and we have chase boats and all these different boats and a picture boat, and blah blah, and another picture boat. It's like eight or so actors, and people are just like, and then the captain comes up to me and he's like it's like a scene from a movie, and he's like we gotta go now, and there's like hats blowing off, and I'm like, no, wait, we're just gonna get this one more shot. He goes, you see this? He's like, you see this? That's the storm. And his whole phone and this like app is like red, like everything is red. And he's like, there's like one little patch of blue, and he goes like, that's the storm. That's us. We gotta get the out of here now. And I'm like, all right. So we pack it all up and head back, and it was just like, go. And we had like this stuntman actor, TJ Thompson. Shout out to TJ Thompson. Like all these people, like on multiple. It was like this caravan of just going through the storm, and the hair and makeup girls are like, and the actors are like, we're gonna die, But we couldn't have been in better hands, with the Hawaii Marine Water and Safety crew, who have just like a walk in the park for them. I mean, he might have been like that to me to make sure like I knew the urgency of the situation, to a director who has basically got tunnel vision on, just trying to make the scene.
To get the shot,
yeah. But for them, it's like
we're gonna die.
No. To them, they were like 100% confident. Like when I looked at them on our way back, like, how you doing? He's like, oh, this is, like a Navy SEAL in the middle of the jungle when it's raining. Like that's like no big deal to them. You know what I mean? Like they were totally
they're
fine. We all got back. We were all wet, but like we all got back, no problem, and and it was fine. And I was like Captain, what is his name? Like Gary Sinise in Forrest Gump. I was just like, yeah, because it was just like, because we were alive, man. We were doing it, and you'll never be able to explain. I'll never be able to explain my wife, Yoza. Shout out to Yoza. I'll never explain to my family like those situations. You'll just never. They'll never. It's like war. How do I explain that to them? But like the people that were there with us, they went through this, this crazy experience of making this movie. We were alive, man. We were doing it. You know what I mean? And we were 100% safe. I mean, like, even if somebody were to fall overboard, we had like all these boats in the water to help people.
Help them
all in life vests, and we were in good hands. Yeah.
Did you anticipate that storm to happen that very day, or
we knew there was a chance, but like I said, our backs were up against the wall. There was no not making our days on this show.
Right. You just had to do it.
Oh yeah. If it was 11 pages, which is a lot, especially on this type of movie,
that is a lot.
The average is like 2 to 4 on most features. We were like 9 to 11, and we were running fast. And like sometimes 75 setups a day, which is like, that's unheard of, you know what I mean? And we were just going fast, and that's the thing. We owe it a lot to the crew and the cast for braving through all that and getting with the pace. And we had a great first AD, this guy Anthony Buzada, who really kept us in check and just really was realistic with us while we were consumed. And I mean, it was. I just did another movie, and that movie was very, very difficult. This movie, Kangaroo Kids. Shout out to Sunstream and my father, and Garrett Sutton. This movie I just directed, and that was, I mean, I'm so grateful for this experience, because it was like storming the beach at Normandy or something, metaphorically, filmically. Yeah. Because now everything I do, I think, will be hopefully a lot less, intense. But honestly, I thrive on because I grew up on second unit sets with my father.
Yeah.
And so I for anybody that doesn't know, first unit is like the actors saying their dialogue and stuff, and then anything with like action or and sometimes not the actors, sometimes with the actors, they call that second unit, right? And I grew up on those sets, so I thrive when there's a lot of pressure, and I thrive when there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of like action
Chaos,
oriented elements, because it's all calculated. It's meant to look chaotic, but it's all very calculated, and you always do it with, okay, what's the margin for error, and then you make it to it's a 0% margin for error, and then you go. So we always, double, triple check, quadruple check everything before we move forward, and then we move forward, and sometimes you'll have like situations where it won't go according to plan, so then you have to do it again, and but I mean, we were also in really good hands with that as well, especially with my father on set with us, and my experience with him. And it's like my dad's been a stunt coordinator, second unit director, stuntman for 50 years. You know what I mean? So he's well adept for situations like that, and I have my brother Tenani there, and he's a great stuntman, and we had Jimmy Burkhart there. We had a lot of guys helping us out, and so we were, I mean, we had a great special effects veteran, special effects coordinator, Bruno Stempel, and he did all our special effects, and we were in really good hands with him. So it was just it was like we were just well taken care of, and that was really, honest to God, I can't say this enough. I owe so much to the crew, because a lot of these guys, they could have been working on a lot of bigger shows. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like everybody. They could have all been working on NCIS. They could have been working on Magnum. They could have been working on the movie that was being made at the time. I don't remember, or the Hallmark show. And they chose to do this small, very large at the same time zombie film, because either of their love and friendship and belief in me, or Brian Spicer, or just the project itself, being involved in something like this, kind of pioneering something like this here in Hawaii, or their love for the genre. I don't really know which one of those things it was, but
they chose that.
They chose this.
They chose your project.
Yeah, man. They chose this project because it was definitely not as good of a payday as those shows, and I'm super grateful also to the unions here, like Irish Barber and the Teamsters and SAG, for just allowing us the opportunity to do this, because it's not easy making a movie. It's damn near one of the hardest things in the world to do, and it's also a gift at the same time. So, and a blessing. So I was happy to be invited to the party, because that's what it is, right? To be able to work on these things. If you're not creating it yourself, even if you are creating it, you have to get the money. So you're still getting invited to the party, unless you're doing absolutely everything yourself. Somebody wrote that check. Some studio allowed you to do it. Yeah. The film commission here, Donnie Dawson and Valea, all of them, George Skinner, they all allowed us to film here, right? You've got to get approval for all of these things to do it. It's not just like you can just go out and do it, So shout out to the Hawaii Film Commission and Auntie Rocky and all those people, for helping us out and allowing us to throw this party. And it's just, I'm just so relieved that we got to this point where we can show the world all this hard work that we put into it.
Yeah, such a big experience, you know what I mean? And then even to have so much people involved with the project, it's amazing, right? And then speaking on that, let's talk about the casting, because how are you able to figure out like the right cast for this movie?
Very interesting. So, and that was, a movie can look great, can sound great. Everything could be beautiful and sexy on the screen. The music could be huge and epic. Yeah. But if you don't believe what you're watching, then a wash. It's all for nothing. You know what I mean? And we've all seen movies that look great, but either the acting is terrible or you don't believe it. There's no chemistry or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we owe a lot to the actors for doing it. You know what I mean? Because we have beasts all across the board, and these guys and girls, females, could have been doing a lot of other things than doing this show, right? Sean Patrick Thomas, I mean, I'm a huge fan of his from like Cruel Intentions and Save the Last Dance, and and he just did the Coen Brothers movie. He just did that movie Till. I mean, the guy is arguably one of the greatest living actors that we have, and Shane Johnson, who is on the show Power, who had a very steady job. You know what I mean? A very really? Lucrative job, and he came out and Joe Town, Dean Geyer, Jenna Leigh Green from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, like all these people, they could have been doing a lot of other things. My dad, my dad was a fortunate situation. So yeah, the boys and our producer Joel were able to bring a lot of these guys over, and they were willing to take this deal and go down this journey with us, which is not it's not like a glamorous. Other than being in Hawaii, which is obviously great, it's like the greatest place in the world. But like other than that, it was like it's hard work, man. You know what I mean? and they're either running, shooting, diving, or safely. Obviously, it's not like we were making them do like stunts or anything. But it was a physical show, and they were just all game for it. You know what I mean? And I'm super grateful to our producer Joel and the boys for handling that, and our casting director Shannon, because they brought a lot of great talent. And then obviously to all of our local cast, we had a lot of just great bit part players that came in and just came in and gave their all. And we had to populate this whole movie. So there's many different factions. There's the bad guys who are called the Sworn. They're like this cult that exists in this post-apocalyptic world that we created. And then you have the good guys who are the survivors, and that's led by my father, Fairai Richmond, who plays Wyatt, and he leads them. And then you've got a lot of zombies, right? Yeah. Which is an awesome idea because everybody's like, oh, I want to be a zombie. But being in that hair and makeup, right, that process takes a long time. And then you got to be in the jungle, in the sweaty, hot, or cold jungle for a long time. And they were just all troopers, you know what I mean? And it's not easy. And our zombies are also not slow zombies, right? They're all fast zombies.
Oh, really?
They're like running around and
so really like 28 days later.
Yeah. Right. And so like we had like my friend Saxon Sawai and just a lot of the crew members, they jumped in there and it was just I just can't say it enough, man. We just everybody just gave their all to this thing, and we had long hard days, and we stayed within the confines of obviously like union rules and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think that's how most of my projects are, and I think actually people actually enjoy that pace after a while, because it's just like there's no sitting down and waiting around and watching the time go by. It's like I know that I was firing on all cylinders the entire process, and I know that a lot of the crew members were as well, and the cast as well, right? And so it was just a fast-paced thing. The day is over by the time you know what I mean? Like you're like, oh man, that's it. And so it was just like, because it moves so fast, and I like that pace. I like to shoot fast. I like to try to get as much as I can in. I go in with a very detailed plan of how we're going to execute it. And that's approved by the first AD, co-director Adam, and our producer Enzo and Spicer and everybody, and we move fast. And I'm lucky that I I have a DP. My DP, Sean Hyatt. He understands me, so he knows what I like, and he knows the pace in which I move. And so basically, I just tell him like, okay, here's the plan, and he'll be like, okay, like and then the first AD and everybody else will come in and they go, okay, well, we say that this is the best way to execute that plan. And I say, oh yeah, absolutely, whatever you guys think on that end. I might have some suggestions from experience, but other than that, we just kind of go about it like that. I mean, there were times where like, it because of our resources and lack thereof, it would take us like 4 hours to load into a location. So then they're like, okay, it's gonna take an hour to get out of here. So now you've got 6 hours to do this, right? Including like lunch and stuff. So then it would be like, with lunch added. So like that would take like an hour to a half an hour too, right? And so like, and they'd be like, in one specific scene, like in one of the climax scenes, which is like the climax, right? They're like, and we have this beautiful set, right? And we spent all this money to get everybody down here, fly all these people in. We've got 6 hours to do what's planned, right? For this like one of the biggest scenes in the movie. Yeah. And so you're like, and they're like, you have 6 hours, and you can never look that way. And I'm like, we need to look that way. That's the way that the hero is. That's how we shoot the hero's face, and like, you can't look that way. So then you're like what I'm saying, right? You have to like get creative, and you go, okay. So then like, can we adjust? Because that's what it's called, turning around, right? So that's when you shoot everything one direction, then you take the lights, you put them on the other side, and you turn around and go that way. Yeah. There was no turning around because we don't have condors to hold lights up in the air, and usually they have big balloons with a big soft light, and it just lights the whole jungle, and you have some backlight or edge, and that gives you your shafts. And none of that, right? We've got Jason Freitas and his guys, Zachary Tom, and my brother and Brian Wallace. Shout out to all those guys, the Grip and Electric team, and like, they're like rigging stuff in trees and like putting stuff on ladders and trying to get light into the set at nighttime, and then you're just like, okay, well, what if she goes in this way? Then we can get a low angle of her so we don't see the lights and everything in the background. And then what we'll do is we'll just keep turning her around toward this way. Like she'll go behind this and then she turns around that way so that we can see her face. And then we'll be from her back, and then we'll look instead of looking that way, we'll just, because the jungle is the jungle, right? So you can't really tell like a tree is a tree, right? So you're just like, we'll just put her over here. And then the audience will think that we're still looking that way. Yeah. And you will move some set dressing around, and that was a trick that I learned from Blade Runner, Ridley Scott. Because we had this amazing, like this girl Julianne Getman helped us out with a lot of the set dressing and props from Magnum. Shout out to her. Chris Woods, good friend of mine that I met through my friend Hale, told me that he had a bunch of set dressing and stuff, and so he gave us all this set dressing for he just helped us out basically. And so what we did was, it's this trick where you take something, right, and then you like shoot it once, and then you like turn it upside down, and add some stuff to it. Then you can shoot it again. Then you can like turn it around, take away some stuff, add some different stuff, and you shoot it again, and nobody can tell the difference, right? And that's like a Ridley Scott trick, and so that's what this whole movie is. That we would take one set. Sometimes we would be shooting one direction. Then when we would turn around, we'd take that set, put it over here, flip it upside down, paint it, whatever, and then shoot it this direction. And then as soon as we were done with that, the set deck crew would take it and move it to the tomorrow's location. And I'm talking about like chain, like large pieces of chain, and like hundreds of feet of naval rope. Like this stuff weighs tons. Yeah. And gigantic crates that basically take like 3 to 4 guys to lift. Like those guys were just killing it. And so by the time that I would get to that set, we would just make a few adjustments and it would be there. And it was a leapfrog. That's kind of like how I like to shoot, is with like a leapfrog way of shooting. So like, we're planning this right here, and then we explain all the shots here, and then like whoever has it in their mind and still has space left, then I can explain the next setup. And then if they have even a little bit more space in their mind, then I can explain the next setup, right? So that like while we're doing this, if we only need one camera, then we can break away that camera, and then they can go and set it up over here, and they can set up lights over here, and then the set dressing boys will have already preset that up, and then while we're doing that, then they're already setting up the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and that's the only way I know how to work, and that's the only way this movie could have been done. And also I learned from Spicer like block shooting, so you like can shoot. If you have the cameras in one section, then you shoot parts of this scene. If you know that there's another scene that's going to take place here, you leave the cameras. You bring in new actors or whatever, the same actors. You change things around a little bit. You adjust the lens a little bit, and then you shoot the next scene, right? Then you move the cameras in or closer and go in for coverage, and then you shoot the last scene stuff, and then you switch it around again, and then you keep the cameras there, and then you shoot the continuation of the second scene, right? And you just do that, and that way you just maximize your time, and that's just how you make movies, you know. It's just it was, and then sometimes we'd have to split up, and we'd be shooting on like one guy, you know, Adam would be doing something upstairs while I'm shooting downstairs, and it'd be like rolling, right? So then like this crew would have to be quiet for the minute that we're shooting, and then we'd be like cut, and then he'd be like rolling, and then we'd have to be quiet, and they'd be like cut, and we have to make sure that like we're shooting in one direction where they can't see, they're shooting in another direction that they can't see us, and our lighting doesn't conflict with each other. It was just like, not only was I using a lot of my experience, but I was also learning a lot on the fly, and it was good to have guys like Spicer and Sean Hyatt and guys, you know, to help us out with that, to like understand like, okay, you can do these things, because it was the, you know,
it was nuts.
It was nuts, yeah. I mean, 16 days to do a movie of this size
it's hard.
Ambitious.
Yeah, very ambitious.
Yeah.
How is it like having directing like your dad as one of the characters, and even having some of your family help you with some of the set design, or even some of the part of the production?
That is just a dream, right? That's just one of those experiences that you just have to like look up at the sky and thank God for the opportunity to do that. You know what I mean? Because I really owe it to my father. I'm gonna get choked up, but I really owe it to my father for my love for this art form, right? Because he would bring me, you know, before I became like, when I was pre-adolescent, you know, before I started getting into girls and sports and stuff like that, my dad would just bring me on set with him, and all I wanted to do was be around my father. You know, when you're a son, right?
Yeah.
As you may know, rest in peace to your father. I know that you know, that's got to be. He's doing a great job, Dad. Look at your son now. Look at Gavin now.
He still haunts me, but
yeah. All of a sudden, something falls in the back.
Which is good.
Yeah.
I asked him to haunt me, but
yeah, for sure, man, for sure. I mean, my dad used to say this thing. He would say when I was a kid, he would say, when I would be like resistant about something or whatever, he would say, all these things I'm telling you will make sense when I'm dead and gone. And I would tell him that, stop saying that, you know what I mean? But now that I have a son, it's true. I mean, you are all of your dad's greatest ideas. Everything that he ever thought of to put into somebody, he put that into you, right? And so that you are his living legacy of all of his greatest ideas, you know what I mean? And when you have a child, you will do the same, you know, and pass on his lessons along with your lessons, you know?
Yeah.
And so to get back to your question, yeah, you know, all I wanted to be was to be around my dad. So with that, and I was already an artistic kid, that's where my love for film came from. Because I just wanted to be around my father. I thought school was pointless, especially when I knew my dad was out like making movies and stuff. I'd be like, why am I here? You know what I mean? And most of the time I was like doodling while I was supposed to be reading a book or something. I'd be doodling in my sketchbook, like thinking of movie ideas, you know? Ever since I was like 9 years old, it's just been my thing. And so, and you know, my dad's a workaholic, I'm a workaholic. And so, we're happiest when we're working. You know what I mean? And so to be able to do that thing together in a different dynamic where I'm not just the kid on set hanging with my dad. Now I'm actually the guy on set, you know, directing my father and being able to work with him is just a dream, you know? And I owe a lot to the boys, to Enzo and Adam for allowing that to happen. And really it was, they already had it in their mind. I think they were already trying to cast him before they even ever met me. Because they had been a fan of his work as well. And so they were like, we have this spot for you. And I actually really wanted my dad to play another part. I wanted him to play the bad guy. And I had a whole different idea for the bad guy. I wanted to make it like more like Immortan Joe from like Mad Max Fury Road sort of thing, you know. And I thought my dad would have killed that, but we got the best there is. We got Shane Johnson in that part, and he added just his own flavor that we could have never expected. And my dad got this great part of Wyatt, and he just wait till you see the movie. My dad he just added so much to the movie. You know what I mean? He added like, you know, the shoyu sauce to the loco moco. You know what I mean? He was just like, I can't even think about eating the loco moco without shoyu sauce. You know what I mean? Or gravy or whatever it is, right? And like my dad was just like, he just added this, you know, he is a large personality on and off the screen. I call him Captain Charisma. So he just added that whole, really a large weight to it. And that was there. But great actors take things off the page and they make it something that you could never have believed. And when you're watching it, it's like magic. It's like watching an aurora borealis or something, right? You're like a waterfall or something. You're just like, or a gigantic wave. You're just like, you can just, you know, I'd be like grabbing like Adam's arm I'd be like, oh, this is fucking amazing. You know what I mean? Or Spicer, like we're like hitting each other behind the monitor because it's like working. You can tell when it's working, you know? And he had a lot of work to do on this, and he just knocked it out the park. He always does. And I've heard that from a lot of other directors, like Jude Wang from Finding Ohana. She said like, oh my God, your dad just like, it wasn't even there in the movie, and then he just added that whole aspect to it, you know, the emotional heart. And then I have my brother Tenani, who's like my secret weapon. My brother Tenani is like all of my siblings and my parents, and they're all like my biggest believers. But my brother Tenani, you know, he came out and really gave it his all. I mean, he was, you know, he would show up in the morning and he would be in the grip department and in the motivational and reaffirm department to his brother. And then, you know, then halfway through the day, we're like, we need you to play a bad guy, you know? And then after lunch, I'm like, I need you to play a zombie, you know? And then he would like go back to being a grip at the end of the day, you know what I mean? And he added so much. I mean, this movie and my last movie and all my movies growing up, you know, like, but especially this movie, like, I mean, he was our go-to. I mean, a lot of the large spectacle sequences in the movie are all him, or he is a major component to that. And I don't have to. I never have to. And I would say on this movie especially, like all the crew was like this. I'd be like, this is what we're doing, you know? And they're like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, so gung-ho, you know? But Tenani is probably the leader of the gung-ho department when it comes to that. Like, he's just like, you know what, actually, he's ready to rock. And he's like a great actor too, right? He's like, I actually think I can make it even bigger than that. I actually think, what about this? And I'm like, if you can do that, then please do that, you know? And he was like, so game. And so those sequences are like, you know, because you need that. The movie needs to be. This is the only way I know how to make movies. I bow at the altar to the Denis Villeneuves and the David Finchers and the people who can like draw out long sequences or scenes or moments in movies without like a lot of engaging action and stuff, right? If you watch a Denis Villeneuve movie who did like Dune, Prisoners, and a bunch of amazing movies, Blade Runner, he just lets the camera come down here and then like and hold and like like very little is happening, you know, and he's like setting it up for something really engaging to happen later. But like I don't have the balls to do that, or at least I'm not there in my career yet. Like I have to be. My biggest fear in filmmaking is to be boring. So I don't have that. I'm very afraid of that. So like I need to be engaging the audience visually, sonically, story-wise, acting-wise, the set design, the costumes. Like I need to always give you something dynamic to look at, and then I need, if it's not something like spectacle happening on the screen at that moment, I need to make it like a almost like a ticking time bomb getting ready to blow up. So I'm like always trying to set it up for something dynamic, crazy to happen, right? And I want to keep the audience engaged all the time. So that balance of humor, action, heart, story, drama, right? Like there's like a fine balance of like keeping those things, you know, like, so like let's give the audience some action and then let's try to give them a little humor to give that a release valve.
Yeah.
Right. And then like then we'll have the roller coaster ticking up again to go into to set them up for the next big sequence that happens. So that the whole time while I'm engaging the audience visually, while we are engaging the audience visually, that way you can slide in your philosophies, you can slide in the subtext, you can slide in the story, the exposition, right?
Yeah.
That's like something I learned from like James Cameron, right? If you watch a James Cameron movie, he'll have a bunch of exposition, which is basically like telling the audience the plot of the movie or like the story beats, right? A lot of times you'll be like, well, we better go over there. We have to make it to that room because that room has the button in order to stop the world from blowing up, right? You know what I mean? Like you're telling the audience, and you're like, sometimes you can be like, you got that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like James Cameron is real smart. It'll be like in the middle of an action sequence, right? And he'll be like a car chase or whatever. I don't even know if this is real, but it's like something like along these lines. It'll be like a car chase, and he'll be like, what is that thing? That's a T-1000. What does it do? Well, it morphs into a different type of Terminator. It's a new age thing, and it's gonna kill us all, or whatever. It's like, and you're like, how are we gonna stop it? Well, the only way to stop it is this. But you're so engaged with what's going on the screen that you don't actually know that he's like spoon feeding you the context of the movie,
right.
The exposition of the movie.
Yeah.
And so that was something that we were always trying to do in this movie as well, and that's always something I'm trying to do. Because I'm just, I can be very afraid of just like two people just talking, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. In movies, it's like, it's a very hard trick to pull off. Mm-hmm. Like, and I don't know that we've pulled it off yet. The audience will tell us, but it's like, you're asking an audience to sit down for 2 hours sometimes and give you 2 hours of their life.
Yeah. Their
undivided attention, right? And I think that's why I love movies so much, is because a book you read, you could put it down, go have lunch, and then come back and movies are more akin to like a song as far as like art forms go. Like when you listen to a song, you're gonna listen. You have to listen to the whole thing. You know what I mean? Can't go off and and it works. It works with pacing and it works on levels and balance and all that, you know what I mean? And that's the same thing with a movie, you know? Mm-hmm. But you have to do that for like a 2-hour song, you know what I mean? So you've got to keep their attention, and you got to, because that's the thing, right? This is another thing I learned from Mel Gibson. This is a very, very important thing for any filmmaker, right? It's what I live by, is what's called the 3 E's, right? And I respect Mel Gibson because he directed some of the greatest movies ever, right? Apocalypto, Braveheart, right? I mean, it's like, those are like in the top 10 probably, right?
Yeah.
And it's like if the first thing you need to, so the 3 E's, the first thing you need to do is entertain, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's what motion pictures are like made for, right? It's made as entertainment, right? Mm-hmm. I'm less of an artist and more of an entertainer, right? So you have to entertain them, and if you can entertain them, you basically have their eyes and their ears, right? So you got them on that level physically, right? And then if you can, so that's the first E, entertain. The second E is educate. If you can educate them, so if they can learn something about the characters, the story, if they can learn something about the world, right? There's a great example of this in like The Dark Knight when Morgan Freeman, when Michael Caine is talking to Christian Bale, Bruce Wayne, he's talking about the Joker, and he's saying, there was a mercenary in wherever it was, like South Africa or something, and he says that this mercenary, there was a man, and he would just kill people and for money or whatever it was, and then he would burn all the money up, and he wasn't doing it for the money. Some people just want to see the world burn, right? But in that moment, in the movie, in this crazy, fantastical comic book world movie, he has your brain. You're tuned in. You're learning about something else that's informing you about the Joker, right? And for that, and that's all. Sometimes that's all you need, right? And so now if you can entertain and you can educate, now I've got your eyes, your ears, and I've got your brain. And if you can do that, that's hats off to you, because that's very tough to do, right? Most movies are just sheer entertainment. You watch it and then you leave it and that's it, right? And it's like a Happy Meal or something, right?
Yeah.
But if you can do those two things, then you're engaged. And the last trick is the hardest trick, which is the last E, which is to enlighten people, right? So if you can change the way that people feel, if you can make them laugh, if you can make them cry, if you can make them think differently about the world that they live in, if you can make them think differently about themselves, right? You go in to the theater and then you leave the theater changed. Now you've got their spirit. Now you've got their heart. Now you've got their soul. And if you can do all those things, then you've made a classic movie. You know what I mean? Then you've made something that will be imprinted and branded on these people forever. You know what I mean? And you'll leave the movie and you'll go, I can't get that movie out of my head. You know what I mean? It's like that movie really affected me. You know what I mean? And
on another level, right?
On another level. And if you can do it for the positive and really make them think like to be nicer to people or to be nicer to themselves or to follow their dreams or to do anything that, like, if it's for a positive impact, if you could do that to one person, if your movie had that effect on one person, then it's all worth it.
Yeah.
In my book.
All right. So next question I wanted to ask.
Yes.
What inspires Decade of the Dead? In terms of like directing, because you pull stuff from Michael Bay, George Romero.
Adam's gonna hate that, but yeah.
But what's your inspiration?
That's a great question. When I was allowed and to be a part of this project, when I was invited to this party, I am very upfront about my tastes and my that was a good thing too, is like Adam Dio, our other director, his tastes are very different from mine, and I love all the stuff that he loves. I'm not sure that he loves the stuff that I love, but that's good, right? Because it's working on different levels. Yeah. And so I was very upfront with Enzo and Adam and telling them, I'm not a huge, like, they come from the horror film background, you know what I mean? And he's into that stuff and he knows that audience. And I told them, I want to make a movie for everyone. I don't want to make a movie just for the horror film fans. I want to make a movie that those people will love, that audience will love,
Mm-hmm.
and bring other people that might not go out and watch a movie like this to come and enjoy. I want to make a movie that is as broad as possible, that can translate into different languages, that you could almost watch and not even know the language and understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of my aim all the time is I'm very much a filmmaker that wants to make movies for the globe. And so and they were so cool about that, you know. They understood that, and they were super gracious with me about that. And that just comes from, once again, that just comes from my experiences, from my influences growing up, and for that fear of being boring. You know what I mean? I want, if 10 people come into the movie and they're of all different races, colors, ages, cultures. I mean, I want all 10 of them to like this movie. You know what I mean? And so I wanted to. That's what I wanted to do, and I think that's what we've done. And that was at the core of my approach into coming into this. And as far as like filmically, inspiration wise, you know, I thought you know, the movie that made me want to make movies was I was like 9 years old, I think, and I watched Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and I was in the front right of the theater, and I remember just staring up at this theater,
movie.
yeah, and I remember just like the flickering images. This is back when it was still film, you know, and I just watched this huge spectacle, which was sometimes equal parts scary and thrilling and emotional. And I just remember like, that's it right there. You know what I mean? And then I remember I watched Jurassic Park and I remember the effect that it had on the audience. And I was like, that's what a powerful thing, because the audience knows that these are actors. They know that dinosaurs don't exist, right? They know that that's Harrison Ford, right? Yet they totally, for like 2 hours, they totally believe this.
They buy into it.
Kabuki theater sort of experience, right? which is, as human beings, that's what separates us from the rest of the animals on Earth, right? Because we're animals, right? But we can tell stories, and stories are the reason that we're still here, right? Hey, when you go into the water, this one time, this one guy drowned, so you have to make sure you come up for air. Oh, when you light a fire, it burns. Let me tell you a situation how I know that, right? Down from the earliest of human beings, right? So that's how we survived this long, right? And we will survive. Stories are the most important thing I think we have as human beings, right? And so that I think those types of movies, those big spectacle movies, really informed what I wanted to do with this movie. Is I wanted to take that sort of like sense of adventure and also create the world, right? Like I'm a huge fan of Ridley Scott and just the way that he creates worlds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you go into one of his movies, or pretty much all the big guys, right? You're going into a fictional world that he's created. I'm less interested, and I love movies that are basically super realistic, right? I love those movies. I don't know if that's my strength though. I'm more into like, you know, even Kubrick. Kubrick said, somebody would say it looks real. You know, well, I don't want it to look real. I want it to look interesting.
Yeah.
Because interesting is better than real, right? I don't think you go into movies and you want to see real life. You live real life. You know what I mean? I think you go into movies to to see something that you've never seen before, to
Yeah,
escape
something
real life.
thought-provoking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was my whole thing, was like, if we can take an audience and not make, I also don't, I'm not really trying to make a movie. I'm trying to make an experience, right? I want you to go in and forget about the inflation rate, forget about politics, forget about all the dramas of the world right now. Forget how much it costs to pay the babysitter for you to be at that movie or whatever it is, right? To how expensive it is to live in Hawaii or whatever it is, right? I want you to go in there and for an hour and a half, 2 hours, just get swept up in this situation and forget about all that. And so that's what I wanted to do. That was always my goal, was to put the audience through an experience and tell a story about heroes and love and friendship and loyalty and that's because that's at its core, that's really what the movie is about.
Couple more questions.
Yeah.
So for Brian Spicer,
Yeah.
what is the most influential thing you've learned from him?
Whew. Oh man, it's a long list. I'll start off with this. Sometimes in life, all you need is one person to say that they believe in you, to say that they believe in your talent. Self-belief, because I believe in myself 200,000%, right? But sometimes I can only take you so far. But when somebody says, I believe in you, you can do this, you have it in you, I want to see you, like that right there is probably the greatest gift that he ever gave to me. Because, and I say this with just coming out of respect, because you're talking about a man who spent the last close to 40 years at the highest level, right? At the tippy top, doing this profession that I've been trying to get my hands on for most of my life, right? Since I was 9 years old.
Right.
So when that person tells you that they believe in you, bro, I mean, I could do anything.
You run through a wall.
Yeah, I could run through a mountain. And that guy was told that by Steven Spielberg, the great sensei to all of us.
Yeah.
Whether or not you like Steven Spielberg or not, you have been influenced by him if you're a filmmaker, because the people you like were influenced by them.
Were influenced by him.
Even if they hated Steven Spielberg, they were trying to make stuff not like him. Therefore, they're influenced by him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he was. So basically, by being under this man's wing, I'm the next generation of being influenced and being taught under the tutelage of the great master, right? The great living master. God bless you. And so that was the biggest thing. But I mean, it's countless lessons from Brian. Learn, walk away from this right now. You're gonna tinker this thing until it's broken, until you gotta like let it go and keep moving forward. And move on. Like that's one thing, because I will be incessant about like messing with things until I because it's never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
It's almost like imperfection is perfection sometimes. You know what I mean? And so, because I'm a perfectionist, so that was a huge thing. And the list goes on and on. You know. Just observing the way he works, being patient. He's very patient. I'm very impatient. Just ask my wife. So I learned to have patience, You know, I can be a guy who everybody gets in this business to be creative. And sometimes I can be overwhelming, and I'm very aware of that. And so I can meticulously have my hands in all the departments, trying to manipulate and augment and change things. And he told me just recently, he said, you have to let people do their jobs. And so you have to, it's your job not to direct everybody all the time, but to inspire them to do what they do best. And so that was a huge thing that I learned from him just recently. And because it may say a film by the director's name at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And for sure he's going to get blamed. He or she's going to get blamed if the thing sucks. Conversely, though, they will get all the praise if the thing, not all the praise, but they will get a lot of the praise if the thing is amazing, right?
Yeah.
But what most people don't know is that it's really a film by everybody, right? Like, it's always a bad thing to say a film by, because it does have to go, all the ideas and everything have to flow through like one CPU, right? Computer processor. In this case, it was a couple CPUs, right? It has to be processed and filtered in order to get, because the director sees everything. From beginning to end. They know how like a song, right? You know how the beats are gonna flow, how the pace is gonna go. They know that an actor can't be at a level 10 for 3 scenes in a row, because it gives them nowhere to go. So you have to keep track of every little meticulous thing. And the thing is that the crew and the cast, if the movie sucks, it's not going to be great for them, but they're going to keep working. If it sucks, that might be it for me, right? So that's why I am the way I am. I may never get a shot. It's a gift. It's a miracle to be able to do this job. And so you have to treat it like it's your last every time, because one bomb, not only is that going to mess with you forever, and it'll probably put you through depression. I mean, look at Brian De Palma, Francis Ford Coppola, like all these guys, right? They direct one bad movie and it's like they want to commit suicide. It's not even joking, because it's like you put everything into it, and then it bombs, and you just like
you're crushed.
You're crushed. Financially, it's killer too, right?
Yeah.
But like, it's just so hard. So you really got to be firing on all cylinders and be very, very aware. But with that said, it's like I owe a lot to everybody. We owe a lot to everybody, that put their every little piece of everybody that worked on this it's every little last detail is all them on the screen. This movie was made by over 100 people that went out and just gave it their all, and then it was pushed to the finish line by a few of us that took that work and pushed it to the end. And so, especially Enzo, he's been editing this movie. I edited a bunch of scenes too, but not like he took the whole, a lot of it on his shoulders and had to deal with the politics. And he really kept us, he really sheltered, at least me, and I know Adam had to deal with a lot of it too, but like, he sheltered me away from, so that I could just do my job, right? Because I can't. There's a great interview with Steven Spielberg, and they say when he's making Jaws, he's 27 years old, I think. He's at lunch, he's feeding the birds, and this reporter comes up to him and says, Mr. Spielberg, how do you feel right now? You're $1 million over budget, you're 100 days over schedule. A few departments have gone and mutiny, or whatever the term is, on you, on your production, and they've quit. And the Teamsters are mad at you, and people want to quit, and everybody's angry, and the studio may fire you and shut you down. How do you feel? And he's feeding seagulls, and he said, and it's very important to remember if you're a filmmaker. he said, which is very hard to do, but he said, "Oh, I don't think about it at all. I can't think about it. If I was to think about how much the crew and the cast hate me, then I wouldn't be able to do my job. And I was hired to do a job, and that job was to tell a story, and that's it. That's my job. And so, if anything that has nothing to do with that, then that's none of my responsibility, right? There's other people that do that, and that was what Enzo did. He was the producer, and Brian, and Connie, and Franz, but really, our producer, Enzo, he was, you know, as far as the pushing it to the finish line all the way to the very end. I mean, the guy's working right now to finish up, you know, all this stuff, and that was his responsibility, and all those people really allowed me, and sometimes Adam, the opportunity to just do our jobs, to just do my job, which was just to tell a great story, which is as it is very, very tough, right? Because you have to be, Guillermo del Toro talks about this, you have to be, I'm not going to curse, you have to be a hard son of a gun. Because you got to fight for what you believe in all the time. And you got to fight not just with people, but time, the elements. Nobody cares about how hard it was to make the movie. Yeah. They just care about if it's awesome or not, right? And so you're always at odds with the world. And then in the very same moment, or simultaneously, you have to be very soft and fragile. So you can get the actor, you can speak to the actor and tell me, I need you to, you know, whatever you can do to get to this, you know, and that's your character is here, and this is a very, very key moment to the movie. Or even down when you're writing it and you're like, you know, you want to try to make sure that that this poignant scene is has these fragile, you know, sort of heart driven sensibilities to it. You have to like be delicate, you know, constantly. You have to be delicate with the crew members. You got to be delicate with yourself, so not lose your mind constantly. Because a lot of the cast and the crew, they probably think I have zero personality. Some of the guys and girls that meet me, because the whole entire time,
Interesting.
I'm basically like really, most of the time I'm not. I want to be accessible, but there's so much going on, and there's so much against us, and myself, and what I'm trying to do, and what we're trying to do, that there's like zero room for chit chat. There's zero room for hanging out, for telling jokes. I try my hardest to keep it light on set. I try my hardest to not sweat. You know, Brian talks about that a lot. You know, don't, you know, you keep the tempo, right? So you gotta make sure that, you know, however you're feeling is how everybody else is feeling. So I mean, I'm as calm out from the outside probably as a Hindu cow, but also people know that, because I don't know how to make a small movie. I just don't. It always starts off as a small idea sometimes, and sometimes it starts off as a big idea. But I have like large goals. I like to do big setups. I like to do large scale things. That's just where I feel the most comfortable. That's just what I know. So whatever I'm doing, most of the time I'm not even scratching the surface or getting close to what it is that I intended to do. So it's like shooting for the stars and landing on the moon. You know what I mean? And I hope that we've landed on the moon, and sometimes we actually got to the stars. But that's just where my mind is at all the time. You know, I just want. I'm not trying to hit base hits. I'm trying to hit grand slam every single time, every scene, every piece of clothing, every set dressing, every piece of music, every line of dialogue. I want it to be perfect, right? And so in this job, you're just because I care so much, right? It all comes down back to the movie Save My Life thing, right? It's like I know we talked about that earlier, but like, movies really saved my life, right? Like, so when I'm thinking about a small scene where the two people are talking, and the AD saying, you have 30 minutes to do this, and I'd be like, this is the most important scene in the entire movie. You know what I mean? And so all these things are coming up against me and us, and I have to keep intact those scenes in movies that were like my favorite. Like there's a scene in Jaws where Roy Scheider is looking at his little son and he's going through all this stress, and they're sitting on the dinner table, and he's drinking wine, and then the little boy is he's like this, and the little boy's like this, and then he goes like this, and the little boy does this, and he goes like this, and the Roy Scheider goes and then he says, give us a kiss, and then the little boy says, why? And he goes, because I need it. Right? And like I get goosebumps even talking about that. Like that's like my favorite scene in Jaws. And like that scene right there is magic. You know what I mean? So, and I'm always trying to get close to that sometimes, to that thing, right? So like I can't be worried about 30 more minutes to go or all these other issues that we have to deal with. I got to make sure that I can try to create one of those scenes like my heroes have. I could try to see if I can get close to doing that thing, because if I can do that, then maybe I can, then maybe I can hang the rest of the movie on that, or maybe I could, or maybe the audience members will also feel that feeling that I felt while watching that, and so, and that stuff, I was telling you earlier, but like, sometimes even one moment in a movie can just. The rest of the movie can even be like lackluster sometimes. Maybe like that one part and just like brings it all together. You know what I mean? Like, I really love that one part. Christopher Nolan does a great thing where he starts the movie off great and he ends great. And like sometimes it's just that one ending, like in The Dark Knight. I mean, The Dark Knight was a great movie, but like that one part, he goes like, the hero that we needed, something warrior, a dark night. Boom, and then the movie ends, and you're just like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I love that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like. And so it's all about that, it's all about trying to make magic, man, because it is magic, right? It's smoke and mirrors more than any other. It's kind of like a song, how a song could just like you listen to it and it'll bring you back to that time of your life, or it can make you feel sad or depressed, or it can make you feel happy from your sadness and depression, right? And like. Movies can do that, but movies are every art form in one. So it's like this very, very hard thing to make work. It's damn near impossible. And so, yeah. And that's the thing we were talking about earlier. Is they saved my life. You know what I mean? I was going through some dark times, and I would never, ever go through with like ending my own life because I was too excited about seeing the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie, or Wong Kar-wai, or even Michael Bay. For all the Michael Bay lovers and haters out there, I love it all. I love all movies. I'm very. A lot of people like, as filmmaking wise, they like dislike me because they're like, how could you like that movie? And I'm like, well, I like that one scene in it. You know what I mean? Like, I just bow at the altar to anybody who creates anything, especially to anybody who gets a movie made, because I make movies, and it is so hard to do that whether or not people are like it or not is irrelevant half the time, right? The fact that you even pulled it off is a miracle, right? You can only judge a movie that is finished because it's finished and it exists, right? Whether or not you like it or not. And if you say, oh, that movie sucked, you go and try and make that movie.
Yeah.
You go and try to make a movie. Then you'll be like, then you'll just have absolute respect for it. You know what I mean? Because it is, I'm not going to say it's a gift, but it's not like we're at war or saving dying people or whatever it is. But it is, everybody who makes movies understands that it is a pride-sucking siege, uphill battle, at a 90-degree hill. It's just like, it is just, you have to find the strength every morning, and you have to find to get out there and go and fight again. You got to find, and you've got to
That's a difficult process.
Yeah, be able to sleep at night. You know what I mean? But luckily, if you're prepared and you have a great crew and cast, like I sleep very easily, and because I over prepare, and I'm surrounded by great people, and it's the thing I love to do the most. So, a lot of directors they can't sleep. I sleep easy. Yeah.
Good. Very good. All right, last question. So, last time we were on, I asked you, advice for, future filmmakers. But I want to change it a little bit. So, from the last podcast that we did, right, which was, I think, 2020. I think it was like July 2020.
Yeah.
So it's been 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. Within those 3 years, what has changed in your mind as, for being like, for directing?
Wow, it's a great question because it's something I've been pondering about myself. Like I was talking about earlier, I grew up watching these sort of like blockbuster sort of popcorn movies, and as I aged, I kind of had like an affinity and love for a lot more like independent cinema and dramatic fare.
Yeah.
And at the time I was making this movie called Higher. And so I have another thing to say too. I couldn't really, at the time, for many, many reasons, I couldn't really move forward with that project in the shape that it was, which was very dramatic. And so I've changed it, and it's still this living organism, but it's growing and maturing, and that's something that happens with a lot of filmmakers, and it can happen at the stress and distress to the participants involved. Some of the actors and crew members and whatever, they're like, oh, when are we going to finish that? You know what I mean? But like, sometimes it takes years to get it right. Sometimes the movie tells you what it wants to be. So if you're not raising it right and nourishing it correctly, sometimes it just won't be made until the time is right. And so that's one lesson I've learned, is because we're going to get into doing, I've changed that movie, and we're doing it actually as a much larger film, and we're doing it as multiple films. And so I would say just to many filmmakers out there that, and to myself, that unless you're dead, it's not over. You know what I mean? And hold on to those things. Many filmmakers have taken years to make projects, and it hits when it's the right time. And so, no matter how long it takes, just never give up and keep going. No matter how long, it could be years. You just got to keep going. And then, I will get back to what I was talking about. And then, when you first asked the question, I have sort of been swept up into this world of making these movies that were the movies of my childhood. So I made this movie, Kangaroo Kids, and that was very much like an Amblin sort of like Spielberg type of film with my own twist and flair. And that has been a really successful, a really satisfying experience, because it makes me feel like I'm a kid again. And it also reminded me of who I actually am and playing to my strengths. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm as good as Justin Chon or Paul Thomas Anderson or like David Lynch or the guys that can make these dramatic films, very realistic dramatic films. You know, not David Lynch, but you know what I mean? I don't know if that's necessarily who I am. I'm definitely going to take a shot, and I definitely want to explore the different aspects of my personality and my filmmaking craft.
Yeah.
But right now, I've been swept up into this world, and I'm really enjoying it. And I didn't really, you know what I mean? That's why I have a cosmic belief about the world. You know, it's like God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, whatever the viewers want to call it. I choose to call it God. It's like I have my plans, and then he laughs at my plans. Says, no, this is what you're gonna do. This is what we're gonna, and I'm gonna give you something, and I'm gonna see if you can handle it. You know. And so, I've been doing this lately, and it's been very fruitful for me. You know, spiritually, mentally, physically, making these large, high-calorie sort of films that basically, you know, I'm very self-aware. You know, they are not really film festival films. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that makes sense. And I don't want to marginalize anybody or even ourselves or myself. But that's another reason why I'm super grateful for HIF, is that this is not the typical HIF movie in my perspective. You know, they are very high art, they have a certain audience. You know, this is not a Sundance movie, Cannes film sort of thing. This is like this is a have fun and enjoy yourselves sort of film, and I'm very aware of that. And honestly, that's what I'm good at. I know that I can do that. That's where I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable in doing very large scale, complex productions. You know, you put me in a room with two people at a coffee table, at some point I'm gonna drive myself insane. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know if I could do simple stuff, or you know what I mean? I don't know. And so it's made me very aware of myself and the things, and I know I can eventually.
Yeah.
You know, I know I can do a native Hawaiian indigenous story, and there'll be that part of my personality. I just don't know if I'm there yet. You know what I mean? And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay to like grow as an artist and as a human being. You know, I have two small children. Shout out to my kids. Cinema. My daughter's name is Cinema. That's how much I love movies, right? I named my daughter Cinema. She's gonna kill me for that.
It's a nice name, though.
Yeah, it's like the most beautiful word. It's my first love, and it's like one of the most beautiful words in the English language. It just flows off the tongue. Cinema. You know, it's just like such a beautiful word. And my son Rhapsody, who I know my kids are my everything, and my soon-to-be wife Yoza. You know, that's my best friend, so I mean, I want to make stuff that's who I am right now in my life. I'm a father with a family, and so what do? I watch cartoons all day long, or you know, when I mostly watch kids movies. You know what I mean? I mostly watch like large popcorn films because I'm with my kids, right? I'm not gonna watch Requiem for a Dream with my kids, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and that's where I'm at in my life. And so, can I make historical dramas? Definitely. Am I interested in those? Absolutely. Am I necessarily going to make those right now? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I'm just sort of like along for the ride, but I'm also steering steering it somewhat, but also like God is like got the wheel right now somewhat. And so I'm writing other films, and so next year I'll do two movies. One, it will be a smaller film to sort of fill that sort of thing, part of myself, and then one will be a larger scale film. And and I guess in conclusion, from the last time we talked, a lot has happened. A lot of,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so grateful. A lot of positive things have happened,
Yeah.
and I think you know, I have more faith and less fear for the future, because and I think it's a good important lesson to everyone. It's like I've been trying to do this for 30 years, and I'm just finally at 40 years old starting to get somewhere with it, and I've just never given up. And I think that's the key. It's just like, if you're just a good person, and you treat people right, and you treat yourself right, and you keep doing good things, and you keep going. I mean, I took a huge gamble. I left my job as a location manager on some very big shows to make good money to provide for my family. And I told my wife, I'm going to go out and do this thing, It's not necessarily, I don't know where it's going to go, and it's probably not going to pay me as much as we would be making. So we're going to have to tighten it up. But I got to do this. And I gambled on that, you know what I mean? And I'm super grateful that I have coworkers on those shows that were like, they believe in me wholeheartedly. And they were like, yeah, go, you know what I mean? And so it was a huge gamble, like you with this podcast. It's a gamble, you know what I mean? But like, this is what you're good at, right? This is what you're passionate about. And like, I don't believe, I just know that I was put on this earth to do this. That's what I'm best at. Even if it was like just telling stories while in a crowded room to people, like that's just the thing that I love to do, and I'm good at that. I can just tell stories well. I can engage people well with that. I'm not very good at many things. Technically, I'm terrible. Ask my wife. I'm not the best at a lot of things, but this is the one thing that I love, and I'm lucky that
you're able to do it.
That I'm able to do it, and hopefully, we'll see what the audience thinks, but I think I'm pretty good at it, and I'm trying to find a modest way to say that, but like, and you only get good at something if you just keep working at it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I definitely know that I have room for improvement on it too. You know what I mean? I'm just learning every single time, but I've been doing it. It's the one thing that I've been doing since I was 9 years old. I've never stopped making movies of some sort. If I'm writing it or I've always made stuff, hundreds of little short films, and it's just the thing that I've consumed my life with, and it's the one thing I love the most, aside from my family, of course. And so and I'm going to do it my entire life, no matter what, no matter if I'm getting paid or not. I just have to. It's not like a want. It's I gotta do it.
Yeah.
Or else I'll die.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess.
Yeah, you're just very blessed to do it. Like I understand, because I'm very blessed to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm not just able to do it, but I'm able to continue doing it. And it's the same thing with you in films. Like, you're able to do it, you're able to continue directing, and you don't know where the finish line is, but at least you're able to still stay on the ride.
Right.
So for me, I understand that.
Yeah. I mean, let me ask you a question. Like, would you keep doing this in your old age if you had to pay for it still?
100%. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It helps so many people. Like, we all know That's all I do. If I'm not watching a movie, when I'm in my car, I listen to interviews with filmmakers. That's it. I'll listen to music sometimes. I'll listen to movie scores mostly, or classical, or like jazz music to like calm me the hell down because I'm very, very high energy. But mostly I listen to filmmaker interviews. And so by you interviewing various people of all sorts, it doesn't even matter how many people have listened to it. If just a few people listen to it and it helped their day, then that's
one more person.
That's
then.
it right there. You know, and so by you doing this, you are being of service. You are helping people. And that's the point. That's the whole key to life right there. That just, you probably sleep easy at night too, because I've watched like a bunch of your podcasts and I've gotten so much out of them, and they will exist forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As long as technology is still here.
Yeah.
And even if it's not, they'll probably exist somewhere. You know what I mean? And and long after you're gone, when your great grandchildren are on the living, you're going to be like, that's going to exist for them, right?
That's my ancestor. Yep.
That's your legacy.
Yeah.
It's all right here. You know what I mean? By that time, it'll probably be thousands of hours, right? And it's like, and it's going to live on long past you. And what greater, more noble pursuit is there than that, really? Because it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, Fairai, mahalo again for being here and being here again on the podcast.
Thank you.
Real quick, how can people get a hold of you? And then maybe even you want to shout out Decade of the Dead.
So here's a few things I want to say. To learn more about the movie, you can go to, oh my gosh, is it Dead Season Film? Hold on, let me just look this up real quick. I'm so sorry, Enzo, Adam. I believe it's Dead Season Film. I just gotta make,
as a filler.
So it's deadseasonfilm.com, and that's our official website. And you can look at some awesome photography. We'll probably add more and more to that as time goes on. Deadseasonfilm.com. If you want to see the movie, we sold out the 2 first shows. So at Hawaii International Film Festival, but hopefully they will add another showing. And so you can go onto my Instagram at fbrfilms.com. It's afbrfilms.com. I'm sorry, at fbrfilms on Instagram. and or you can go to the
That's in your bio, right? The link is in your bio.
the link, and there'll be information on my feed about what's going on. And we're having a party, a Halloween / premiere party at Next Door on October 14th from 7 to 10 p.m. And we're going to sell / give away 50 tickets to that. So and some of the proceeds will go from that event, and those tickets will go to the Maui fire victims. So please come and celebrate with us. And or you can go to also the at Sight and Sound Hawaii. That's Spicer's production company, and that's you can learn more info about the movie and the production company there. And probably mostly from my Instagram. You can find out, or you can go to at HIF Hawaii on Instagram, and you can find updates about the film festival and the movie as well over there. Or they have it's hif.org is the website, and that's where you can buy tickets to the festival. But we will keep you posted, and I hope they add another showing. And from there on out too, you can find out where the journey of the film goes to. But please, everybody, when it's widely available, check out our movie. It's a lot of fun.
Will the shirts be for sale too?
We're gonna give away some of the shirts at the party.
Oh, okay.
And for like a costume contest and raffles and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm sure if we start getting inquiries about people wanting to buy merch, we will have shirts and hats and other things available.
Future,
Yeah, in the future. This is kind of like the breaking point for the movie. So this is kind of like, this is kind of just primarily for the HIF festival right now, and then from there on, we'll see where the movie goes. But I have high hopes for the movie. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just it really is just it's a fun experience. It's got pretty much everything in it. Great acting, great story, some great action sequences, and a lot of spectacle. It's so beautiful. Sean Hyatt did a great job shooting it. Abraham Williams is cutting it, is coloring it right now, and he's doing a killer job with that. And it's just really, like, I'm really satisfied and proud of all elements to it. And yeah, I hope that it lives on and continues to bring more joy. And honestly, I and also the boys have some ideas for another film, and so it would be cool to explore this world even further. But right now, we're just going to focus on this world right now, and this film, and Decade of the Dead at the HIF Hawaii Film Festival, in October. Halloween time, right? I mean, that's... Who could have planned that out, right? We never planned that out. It's like, it's probably the most Halloween movie at the festival.
Not true.
It's a Halloween movie. It's a zombie action horror film, right? I should probably tell the audience exactly what it's about. The movie is about a bunch of seafaring bounty hunters that land upon a peaceful island where there are survivors of the zombie apocalypse, because it's been the zombie apocalypse for 10 years. And so they happen to fall upon these people, these survivors, but they also find out that the world has been taken over by this cult that worship the dead. That it's led by a leader named Grinner, who's this very sort of like scary sort of guy, and then from that point on, twists and hijinks ensue, and it becomes a story about survival and friendship, and learning about oneself. And yeah, it's basically a hero's journey, and literally everybody can watch it. We didn't get a rating yet, so I don't know what the rating is exactly. But in my mind, I think children 13 and up could easily watch this movie, and it's totally suitable for them. And yeah, please go out and check it out. And it was made in Hawaii by Hawaii locals and Native Hawaiian, indigenous Hawaiian people. And we had a hand in helping to create a lot of it. And it's premiering in October at the HIF Festival at Halloween. So it's like, it's perfect. It's perfect for that, for the time, and to get everybody into the Halloween mood and everything. So it's really, I'm really, really happy, and I think everybody will be really enjoy it.
Everybody will be really stoked for it.
Yeah. It's great for Hawaii. I would say that right now. It's really great for Hawaii.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, Fairai, at the end of every show, we always do a kampai. We always do a cheers. So,
yeah. Okay. Cool.
So, Fairai, first of all, congratulations on Decade of the Dead, and congratulations on 2 sold-out shows. We're looking forward to all your future success because you have a lot more films to go. I mean, you just said you're 40, so you have a long ways to go until you direct your final film. So there's so many other things in store, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited for Decade of the Dead. So here's to you, man.
Thank you.
Great job.
Likewise. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Kelsey. Thank you, Kampai, Sugai.